Welcome back to the shop today. Thank you for joining me again. Today we're going to get into a little bit of a deep dive on Vihtavouri n568 powder and the 7 PRC. Today I just wanted to share a little bit of my load and velocity results I've gotten with this relatively new powder from Vihtavouri n568 and the 7 PRC. Let's go. All right, if you're not familiar with Vihtavouri powder, Vihtavouri powders, wow. Vihtavouri powders are a premium powder brand out of somewhere. I don't know, I'll put it on the screen below. They're out somewhere. It's a foreign powder, but Vihtavouri are known in the industry, especially in like really high-end competitions, as a premium type of powder. So when I got the 7 PRC built, or bought, whatever, and I started playing around with it, reloading, I wanted to try out as premium as I could get, also a cheap powder as well, Ramshot Grand, Stayball HD. I wanted to try both ends of the spectrum so far as powder goes. Now, Vihtavouri n568 is a extruded powder, but it is shortcut, so it meters really well, measures really well, and it should have really stable and consistent burn rates and SDs and velocities and all those good things, which I did experience. When I first started researching Vihtavouri powders to use with the 7 PRC, there wasn't a whole lot online for the n568 specifically. Most people seem to recommend n560 or n570, but I didn't see a whole lot for n568. While Vihtavouri does actually have it listed on their website though. So I went on there and started from their actual recommended load data, which is 70.1 grains in the 175 to 180 grain class bullets, which is where I was sticking for the 7 PRC. They recommend starting at about 70 grains or a little less than that for their max load. So when you first look at their website for the 175 to 180 grain class bullets, specifically the 175 ELDX, 175 Nosler ABLR, which I did load for, and the 180 grain class bullets, they have them loaded at 3.260 for their combined overall length of their cartridge. So they're loading them a little short, and they're loading that charge weight a little bit low and a little bit compressed, and they're using Peterson brass from what I understand. So when I got to loading my own Hornady brass, I noticed that I was leaving a lot of space in the case there to be desired. So I went ahead and decided to bump that load up a little bit over max of what they recommend on Nosler's website. Now, to caveat this, I hadn't been able to find any other load data out there, and I hadn't noticed something I noticed a little bit further down the line with Hornady. So I bumped the charge weight up to 71 grains and decided to start trying it out there and see what I got for pressure signs. I actually tried 3 different bullets at 71 grains of the n568, and I was getting on average about 27 to 2750 feet per second, and that's with the 175 Nosler ABLRs, the 183 Sierra Match Kings, and the 180 ELDMs. Now the 180 and the 183s were a little on the lower end. They were just barely cresting that 2700 foot per second mark at 71 grains, which was over Vihtavouri's recommended load weight. I didn't notice any pressure signs at all though, none, no pressure signs whatsoever. They were very soft shooting loads, and I was kind of questioning like, what is going on here? I'm not getting nearly the velocities I expected out of this stuff. However, I will say the SDs for the 71 grains in the 175 Nosler Accubon long range, SD of 4, extreme spread of 8. That's not too bad. That's actually really great. 183s I was getting down to the standard deviation of 3, extreme spread of 8 again. 180 ELDMs, standard deviation of 8, and an extreme spread of 12. So the standard deviations and extreme spread in this powder were really, really low and really consistent in what I kind of expected from Vihtavouri, but the velocities were low. So I tested a new load with the 175 ABLR, since that's going to be my hunting load for mule deer and elk and all that good stuff out west. I wanted to see if I could get a little bit more out of this powder by putting it in different brass. I'd been trying out some Hornady Outfitter ammo, and I had the nickel coated brass, which is a little denser, sturdier, and all that good stuff. So I resized that, neck sizing only, put the 71 grains in it with the 175 ABLR, and noticed an increase in the velocity up to about 2780 to 2789. The standard deviation went up a little bit though, 16 as a standard deviation, extreme spread of 32. While I did get a little bit more velocity, I noticed that my SDs and my ESs opened up a little bit. It was kind of concerning. However, I did get some really great groups out of this stuff. With the 175s at at 71 grains in both types of brass that I tried, both nickel and non-nickel, I was getting just about sub-minute, just about 1 to 3/4 minute groups, and to me that was really, really good. For a hunting load, I decided to call that. So at this point, since I wasn't getting the velocities I was hoping to get, 2850, 2900, somewhere in that range, with any of the other bullets I tried, I went ahead and set the n568 aside and decided to just call it for a hunting load. Really stable, really nice, kind of lower on the velocity end, but really accurate and precise for what I needed it for hunting, you know, hovering around about a minute. That's my hunting load. Put it aside, load a few up, and don't worry about it again. Don't think about it again. So fast forwarding a little bit, I had somebody give me some 180 grain Berger hybrid target loads that he had loaded, along with some bullets to try my own hand loads. Well, I went ahead and tried those out in the Peterson brass with H1000 that he had loaded himself. Thank you, Grumpy. Appreciate that. And immediately pulled off a half-minute group with this rifle. It was the first half-minute group I'd shot with this rifle. So at that point, I was a believer. Maybe better brass and better powder might make a difference. And this is after loading many, many loads through Ramshot Grand and Stayball HD and going through all that kind of stuff with all the different bullets I'm trying and dialing in a few loads with the 180 ELDMs that were getting close to that half-minute mark, around about 3/4 to half-minute. So after getting really, really good results with the load that somebody else had given me that worked well in their rifle, I loaded up a few of my own Berger hybrid targets with some Ramshot Grand and some Stayball HD, and I got horrendous results. 2 minutes on average. And this is the same day, same time that I just pulled 3 rounds that somebody else had given me randomly and pulled a half-minute group with those dudes. So I loaded up my own with Ramshot Grand and Stayball HD and was pulling 1.5, 2 minute, almost 3 minute groups. All right, something's wrong here, and I think it's the powder. That's when I decided to go on the hunt for some more load data for the H1000. Like, let me try that different powder. So I pulled Hornady's website back up and found a PDF for the 7 PRC, which I downloaded and started looking at again. When I was doing that, I noticed something different to what I'd noticed a couple months ago when I first started looking at their load data. They had added Vihtavouri n568 to their load data, and I hadn't seen it before. Their load data, though, lists n568 max charge at 73.7 grains with a combined cartridge overall length of 3.340. That is vastly different than what I was getting off of Vihtavouri's website. And they gave me a little bit of hope, thinking maybe I could get more out of this powder using a different load recipe that I hadn't noticed before. Because 70 grains to 71 grains seemed a little bit low in the Hornady cases. I had a lot of space left in there to put more powder. So that made me pretty excited. Like, maybe I don't need to go all in for trying to buy a bunch of H1000 right now. I might be able to just supplement the load for the Berger hybrid targets and the other bullets I've been trying by bumping up the charge weight on the n568. So going forward, what I did is I went ahead and threw caution to the wind, loaded up a bunch of cases with 73 grains of n568. So I'm not at the max for Hornady's load data, but I'm definitely over the max for what Vihtavouri says, okay? So take this with a grain of salt. You're gonna need to start lower than this. Results may vary in your rifle, specifically in the brass you're loading and how you load it specifically, so keep this in mind. But Hornady's manual on their website actually says 73.7 grains as a max load for Vihtavouri n568. So I went back to the range with 73 grains loaded up in some 175 ABLRs, the 183 Sierra Match Kings, the 180 Boat Tail Hollow Points in 73 grains, and a load I had been trying to develop earlier than that at 70.9 grains. Now the 70.9 grains load was before I noticed Hornady's website. It's just something I made up. Like, I think I'm gonna try this with the Bergers to see if I can get really good results, because they were terrible with Grand and terrible with Stayball HD, but maybe they'll be better with the n568. It's a premium bullet, so let's try the premium powder. I went to the range with those 4 loads ready to go, and I started laying them down. The first group I shot was with the n568 and 70.9 grains and the Berger hybrid targets, loading at mag length 3.340. The first group I shot was 0.796 minutes of angle. That's pretty stinking cool. The second group I shot later. Get back to that. And then I went on with the rest of my testing. Because I had some extra bullets loaded of the 70.9, I wanted to try some velocities later. So I went on with the others. I loaded 3 rounds of each, the 175 ABR, the 183 Sierra Match King, and the 180 Boat Tail Berger hybrid targets at 73 grains of n568. So with the 175 ABLRs, I got 1.42 minutes of angle. Not great. I haven't really noticed a lot of consistency out of the Nosler ABLRs across the board. I have one load that lower grain weight of the n568 at 71 grains and that one velocity profile, 2750 to 2880, where I seem to be getting sub-minute results, and that's about the only place I've ever found sub-minute results with the ABLRs. So the 1.4 with the higher velocity and the higher charge weight, I wasn't super surprised that it didn't shoot that great, but it's still not horrible. It's under 2 minutes, it's a minute and a half. I can call that a hunting load, and I'm probably getting at least 75 to 100 feet per second faster since I've added basically 2 grains to the charge weight. Wasn't super impressed, but I'll take it, it works for now. I moved on to the 183 Sierra Match Kings. I have not gotten a good load out of these yet, out of anything I've tried. This load with the n568 actually turned out to be one of the better ones I've ever seen out of the 183s in my specific rifle. So with 73 grains, popping in at 1.083 minutes of angle. So just barely over a minute. That's pretty much the best load I've seen so far with my Sierra Match Kings out of this rifle. Premium powders make a difference. It'd be interesting to see what that bullet does with some premium brass and a premium powder like n568. So next I tried the 180 Berger hybrid targets with the 73 grains of n568, and I banged in a 0.732 minute angle group. That's pretty cool. Like, that's pretty consistent, and it actually correlates a lot with what I got earlier out of the lower grain weight. So after I tested those 3 loads and then I did some plinking at long range and goofing off, I went back to my 70.9 load with the Berger hybrid targets in the n568 to try the second group with some velocity. But I decided to nix the velocity right now because having seen in the 73 grain charge weights that I was getting no pressure signs, and that was universal. All 3 bullets I tried, no pressure signs of any kind. They were very pleasant shooting. It was more of a soft push than it was a kick with this actual powder, which is different than the other powders I've noticed. It actually shoots different in my rifle, and it feels different. It's got weight behind it. It's got, meat behind it because it is a Magnum, shooting Magnum caliber, Magnum charge, but it does not feel sharp. It feels more of a push and more of a gentle pressure in this load. So it shoots better in my rifle. It is actually easier to stay on target, which is weird to me because I've never seen or noticed that big of a difference in a powder from one to the next, so far as just the type of powder you're using being different in its recoil profile. Pretty cool. Further testing needed. But anyway, I decided to go back and omit my velocity testing and just take the rest of the rounds I had left at 70.9s and do some group testing. Went back to my original dot that I had tested the first group of 3 and shot another 3-shot group, and this is after making a 0.1 mil adjustment to my scope. So I'd actually made a scope adjustment at this point. I came in with my second group at 0.412 minutes of angle. The smallest group I've shot in my rifle yet to date. Sub half minute with premium powder and a premium bullet and some rank brass. It was like 3 times loaded Hornady brass, neck sized. Okay, we're on to something now. So even though I'd made a 1/10 of a mil adjustment in my scope reticle, the group, I decided to combine them just to see what I got because it was 2 different groups. So I decided to combine them. The group still came in under a minute at 0.905 or something close to that. 2 different groups shot 45 minutes apart with a 0.1 mil adjustment done in the scope for elevation. Dude, that's cool. That's super cool. This is a premium powder, and I think with a premium bullet at both the low end and the high end of its load profile velocity, close to max. I'm not even actually at max yet. I'm going to try that later. It's still sub-minute. It's a sub-minute to not, if not half-minute group. All right, so the takeaways here. Premium bullets make a difference. Premium powder makes a difference. With the n568, I think what I'm gonna do going forward, because I didn't take any velocities at 73 grains, so I have no idea what my velocities are yet. I'm guessing they're around the 2850 to 2900 mark. That's my goal, that's my benchmark, but I've got an accuracy profile now to work from, and it works between 70.9, so say 71 grains to 73 grains. I've got a very similar and consistent accuracy profile with that bullet, the Berger hybrid targets, loaded at regular mag length, neck size brass, multiple use brass. Like, I've been junking this stuff for weeks now. I don't even know how many loadings are actually on this brass anymore. I think probably I'm at about 3 or 4. So not premium brass, not new brass, neck sized, and I'm pushing anywhere in that sub half minute, that one group, okay? Just one group, it's just one group, but it is one group sub half minute, 0.4 up to about 3/4. And that looks like an average in a 2 grain spread in the same powder. To me, that's pretty awesome. It says there's a lot to love about the n568, and there's probably a really sweet, spot in between there or just above 73 that I can find where I can max out my velocities, maybe get close to 2900 or over, and maintains low standard deviations and extreme spread, because that's kind of an average. I'm looking at 4 to 8 extreme or standard deviation average and 8 to 12 extreme spread average. That's really, really awesome. So if I can find myself a really cool velocity profile in there where I'm maintaining all this accuracy that I've gotten out of both different charge weights right now, I think we're on to something. A lot more testing is going to be needed so far as velocity goes, and then different environmental factors. So doing it at hot temperatures, doing it at cold temperatures, see about the temperature sensitivity. While it isn't the most temperature stable powder in the world, such as some of the ball powders out there, given the fact that the velocity profile is so forgiving from the lower end on the 70 to 70.9 velocity with same bullet up to the 73 grain, that to me says even given some temperature sensitivity, some variations in your temperature, you're still going to find some good accuracy in this powder regardless. You're going to get some good consistency at both ends of the temperature scale and velocity scale with this stuff. So if you've got any experience with the n568 in the 7 PRC, put it down below. I have not found a lot out there. Please share that stuff. This is just what I've found so far. More testing is going to be needed, but I think I'm onto something here. And now that I know I can use a little bit more powder than I originally thought, I might get some better velocities out of this stuff. All right, that's it for me today. Thank y'all for joining me again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. You know how the internet works. Get down there and make it crazy. Be blessed. Stay sharp, and happy shooting.